Excellent. Thank you so much for being a part. My name is Christabel Dadzi, and I'm founder of Ahaspora. I work with Felicia on the YYAS program. I don't even know, Felicia, is this our 5th year? I think we're in our 5th year right now.
Yeah, this is our 5th year, 2016.
Right,
yeah,
of supporting students. So it's very exciting. If there wasn't COVID, we would cut a cake. We like cutting cakes. We like celebrating each other. But I'm so happy to see all of you. I'm glad we could put on our videos for a bit so that we can see who's on the call. Let me first start by welcoming the 2020 alumni. It's going to be a journey of support. It's going to be a journey of growth for you in terms of us pushing you and you pushing us back, and that's really why we're here. And so YYAS, for you to make the most out of YYAS, it's really what you give to it. So if you are in touch with Felicia all the time, she will remember your name, she will look for help for you. The great thing about being a part of Ahaspora after you're gone through the YYAS program is that for the questions that we can't answer, we have over 2,000 young professionals who are able to give us input, and then we have even larger networks as a result. And so our goal is to help you through the process. I went to school in the US. I did undergrad at the College of Worcester in Ohio, and then did my master's at Columbia University. So I have quite a bit of knowledge when it comes to United States information on colleges and graduate schools. So I'm happy to help in that way. I'm also very connected to both schools. And so I'm able to give you connections as you need. If you need to talk to admissions people, alumni, professors, we can definitely do that. But that is kind of the help that we want to give to you. For those who are looking to go to schools elsewhere, UK, Canada, South Africa, etc., we will definitely be able to find mentors for you who can help you through the process. So I won't take too much of your time. I'm just very excited to have you on the 2020. Very welcome to you. The 2019 alumni, I'm really, really happy that you're staying strong and pushing through. Some of you are already in school, as we've seen, and those who are not, we're hoping to help you so that in the coming year, you'll be able to reach your goals. I do want to say to you that throughout this process, it's very important to involve your parents and guardians, because what we don't want is for somebody to go through the entire process, including writing the SAT and all of the applications, only to find out that their parents didn't want them to go. It's really heartbreaking. And so I really want to advise you that from day one, throughout this process, we will also be in touch with you. I believe we have a consent form that we'll have people sign in. Felicia, am I right on that? So we'll do that, but we'll also need you to involve your parents throughout. Tell them what we're doing together, inform them, ask them for their help, ask them for their support, and then that way we can help you better through the journey. I think I'll stop here, and I really wish you a lovely day. I think you have 2 days ahead of you, so I really wish you a lovely first Ahaspora camp. It's tons of fun. Felicia, as you've seen, is a lot of fun, gets very engaged, and so we're looking forward to you. I also want to just end by thanking our mentors from Ahaspora who are part. We can't do this without you, so we really, really appreciate your taking time to be with us every time we ask. So thank you so much. Have a lovely day. Enjoy the sessions. Ask a lot of questions. It's important. Pull out your notebooks or your tablets, write notes, and I think you have a good time. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you, Christabel, for joining us. Christabel is like awesome. She has connection to everyone and she's always there to support us. So as she already mentioned, make sure you become active. If you're active, I get to know you. If you stay connected, I know your name, I know your face. I have lots of YYAS alumni who just meet me on a casual. We have chats, we do video calls. So stay connected with us and you can build that relationship with us. About the parent engagement, I hope all of you joining this session today will be able to join us tomorrow, because we are going to talk about engaging your parents during your application process, because we've had lots of problems where students get admissions and their parents are like, I'm not letting you go. We are also going to have an admission officer from NYU Abu Dhabi with us tomorrow. She'll talk to you about NYU Abu Dhabi, and I'm sure some of you were able to join the Cornell, Columbia, and Princeton session. There are lots of upcoming college sessions, and we are surely going to give you access to those sessions so you can hear directly from the admission officers, especially during this time that COVID is with us and we are all trying to find our way around it. Also, one thing we do is we do SAT preps for you. So this time we are trying to work around how we can do a virtual SAT prep for you. We've spoken with a college we work with, university, and they are going to give us access to a course where you get after the workshop, you do your SAT prep. You need to be true to us that you are not going to cheat. You do your prep, you send it to us, we'll mark it and we'll send the result to you. That is how we make sure our students are actually learning and are staying focused. We are also going to do a free SAT session, 3-week session, virtual session for you, and you have to apply for that. We'll give you further details about that. Besides that, Ahaspora is going to be your support. This year, something interesting we introduced is the peer mentoring. So you are going to have alumni from 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, but that's on all our workshops. They are going to share their experience with that. I think you guys have heard a lot from adults. Now it's time to hear from your colleagues. They are going to speak your language. So today's first session will be preparing for college, selecting your college. This will be led by, as Ebenezer called himself, the grandpa of YYAS, and Yoku. Yoku is from YYAS 2016 and Ebenezer is from YYAS 2017. So that should tell you the experience they have with college application. Let me tell you about Ebenezer. Ebenezer has applied several times. He's in KNUST now doing engineering and he's still applying. If he doesn't go into undergraduate, he's going to go to school in his, going to school in US for his postgraduate schooling. So sit tight. They are going to present very soon, just after I go off my video. Listen to them, take notes, as Christabel said. Normally during our workshop sessions, we give notepads. We don't just share notepads. We give notepads because we encourage note-taking. So take notes because there will be a Q&A session, then you can ask questions. Okay, so David and Yoku, you can take over from now. Thank you very much.
So Felicia, let me beg leave. Unfortunately, I do have a full-time job and it's a working day. And so I'm going to beg leave, but I'll be checking in with Felicia. And do reach out if you have any questions, okay? Thank you so much and enjoy.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you, Christabel, for having time to join us. Bye-bye.
All right, hello everyone. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm Avevo Ebenezer Sichope Kofi, currently a third-year aerospace engineering student at KNUST. I love what I do, and then my college application story is a long one, so I wouldn't want to bore you with it, so we'll get straight into it. Yoku can introduce himself again, and then we'll get into it.
Okay, as I said, I'm Yoku Saki, and I'm a YYAS 2016 alumni. And I also applied and got into a few schools, but because of some issues, I couldn't go. Yeah. So I'm willing to...
Sure. Okay, so I'll start and then Yoku would follow.
I think we can share your screen.
All right, so we've introduced ourselves already, so no need for the rest. So first slide, what does your dream school look like? So usually when people are applying for colleges, they only consider the prestige of the college and then the name it has, without considering the score requirements, without considering the environments they would have to study in. And you'd have to consider that it's supposed to be a holistic kind of education to develop you in a whole lot of places in your lives, such that when you come out of the school, you can help your communities with whatever you've had from the schools. And so first thing to say, prestige is not the only thing to consider. There are so many other things you'd have to take into account. And so I've listed a few here. Your preferred major, the class size, student-faculty ratio, then cost of attendance, location and weather, on-campus facilities, and then student activities or the Black community as well. And so first off, survival versus passion. I think our system in Ghana is such that you'd have to find a means to survive before you think of something that you are passionate about, in the sense that you can't just go and be a fashion designer, depending on where you are located. I mean, you'd have to find a job that can make you stabilized before you think of just pursuing your passion. If it happens that your passion is in line with something that can make you survive, fine, like being a doctor, job security is secured and all. But the US education is such that you can pursue your passion and do whatever you want to do with your life. You can help community, you can have fun while still being educated as well. And so, like I mentioned, you can't consider only prestige. There's so much to it than only prestige. And then in the case of the liberal arts education, some schools give room for you to take so many courses from many other sections. As in, you can be an engineering student, but you can take courses in many other faculties to help you to broaden your horizons on how the world works, even how much many other things. And so you can even, yes, Isaac Sessi came to structural engineering in Ghana YYAS, but he's now into agric stuff. And so had he gone to a college in the US, let's say, he would have had the chance to take courses in agric as well to prep himself before getting into the industry, which would have made things a lot more easier than having to study everything on his own because he went to Ghana University and the resources there are limited and you don't have those many options. And so that one should be taken into account as well. And then lecture, theater, or discussion groups. Many a times, people well in smaller groups, as in they can have themselves very well, or some people can do mechanic groups. I think you'd have to consider the school you would want to apply to, their policies, their programs, and then if they give room for smaller discussion groups, or you can do all in the larger groups, that one also works. And so next off, cost of attendance. So we'll talk about financial aid here. David will talk about financial aid in a few minutes, so I wouldn't want to delve too much into that. So with the financial aid, they have the SFA, SFA, and then they have the CSS profile. All these things, SFA doesn't take money, but CSS profile so depending on the color you take, SFA plus CS is very lengthy, but SFA is very brief. And so having to fill a lengthy form plus paying money, I think it's $16 per school. And so you can have a school giving you the SFA option. So when you check and then the policy for only SFA instead of, SFA sites, what you should be looking out for is that the cost of living here is very different from what they have in the US. And so a lot of people might not be able to afford, let's say, $70,000 or $80,000 per year. And so you'd have to check if the school can halfway or even give you a full scholarship. Your family can give support you per year. That's yes. And so if let's say you can give EFC of $5,000 per year, but the school knows that the 5,000 will not be enough to bridge since what they are given cannot make up for the full cost of tuition, you might be denied admission. So that brings me to need blind and need aware schools. Some schools are need blind and some are need aware. Need blind means they do not consider your financial means. They check whether you can pay or you are aware school, and then they cannot meet what your family can provide, and you cannot be trying to deny you admission. But for the need blind, people do not get admission, not because they are not good students, but because they are schools are need aware, and so they can't bridge that gap and send in schools. I think I've mentioned also takes some money, so you have to consider that one in the application process. And then location and weather. So proximity to families you might want to proximity to facilities, sorry, you might want to explore, or even family. So if you have a family close to the school that you're applying to, you might not have to pay for room and board, as you wouldn't have to stay on campus. So that takes off a large chunk of the fees you'd have to pay. So that one too must be considered. And then the weather. I think Christabel mentioned in one of the sessions earlier, I think 2018, when Ahaspora met us, the winters can be really cold, the summers can be really hot. You'd have to consider all that before you choose the school you might want to apply to. So Yoku can take off from there. Yoku, you wouldn't have to share your screen, you can use mine.
Thank you, Ebenezer. Yoku.
Okay. So after you look at location and weather, you have to also consider the type of extracurricular activities that the school has. So if you are someone who is good at swimming, you should look, when doing your research on the schools, you should look for a school that has a good swimming team so that they can help you build your skill and for you to become a better person. And also, when it comes to like the extracurricular activities, you also need to look at the clubs and societies in the school. So let's say, for example, we are all Africans here. So when you are applying, you need to look at the what do you call it? The types of associations there. So if you are going like this, you need to look for an African Students Association so that you can feel, give me a second, so that you can feel like you can belong to something, like a bigger course. And also, Ebenezer, the next slide. Okay, yeah. So, about the African Students Associations, there are a lot. Most schools have African Students Associations, and these associations, you can get to meet people from Africa, but like from different countries. You can learn about their cultures. You can share ideas, and even when you are done with college, when you return to your respective countries, you have connections. So in case you need any help, you can reach out to any of them. Yeah. Ebenezer, next slide. Hello? Okay, yeah, so this is a picture. Yeah, so this is a picture of African Students Association in MIT. So like normally they have programs that they show their culture, like from each country. People dress up in their national attire and all of that. Like it's fun, so you get to enjoy yourself too. Please, next slide. Ebenezer, please, the next slide. Okay, so also you need to think about like internship opportunities in the school that you're applying to. So many schools have like, many schools are affiliated to organizations and companies. So when you apply to the school, during like summer vacation and winter vacation, you have the opportunity to apply for internships to these companies, and the acceptance is normally like high because of because of the college you're in. So for example, if you are doing a course like computer engineering and your school is affiliated to a school like affiliated to a company like Microsoft, you can learn several stuff. Like you can build your skill in programming and also gather experience so that when you start working, you won't be lost. And also, you have to also consider counselors, because when you go to the school, you need to make sure there are counselors that can help you, like guide you through your career path, like, and help you choose the right path based on your strengths. Yeah. Please, next slide. Or is that it? Yeah. So that's it. So please, if you have any questions, you can ask us.
Thank you, Ebenezer and Yoku, for sharing this amazing slide and presentation with us. So guys, here are your colleagues who have been through the process, Ebenezer and Yoku. I think they touched base with everything. If you look into the chat menu, you could see Rauda screaming, yes, very true. Meaning everything they said was right, right on point. So if you have any question, feel free to either type it in the comment section or just unmute yourself. Raise your hand. If you raise your hand, I'll see you and call you out to speak. So if you have any question, just raise up your hand and we can ask Yoko and Ebenezer. We'll have 5 minutes of questions. Then we'll move on to David. David will be presenting on financial aid. But before David goes, I think we've been quiet for a while. I'll ask a question just to ease up the atmosphere. So any question? Oh, Rauda has something to say. Hi, Rauda.
Hi, Felicia. Thank you. So this is not really a question, but Ebenezer and you mentioned something that your college story. I thought it would be nice to share so we know the realistic experience, because it's not all green and nice when applying. So I thought it would be nice if they could add that so the students are aware and they still persevere through the application, even if they experience some roadblocks. Yeah, so they know it's not the first time, people have been through it too. So if you don't mind, you could also share your college application story with us.
Okay, so you're saying that we should share our application, like our experience.
Yes,
right?
please. So they know it's not all green and nice when you're applying for colleges. The experience with blogs, but still keep going.
Yeah. Okay, sure. Okay, so one thing I'll say is that when applying, it's not easy at all. Like there are so many things you have to do before certain deadlines, and you need to be like really organized with it. So, for example, in my case, I applied to 6 colleges, and each college had like an average of like four essays that I needed to write, but some of them had different deadlines. So I had to organize them based on, wait, I don't want to talk too much about the Common App process because I think someone will talk about it. But I had to organize everything so that the deadlines won't.
Yoko, sorry to cut you. If you want to talk about Common App, please talk about Common App, because the person supposed to say Common App is unable to join us. So you can talk briefly about Common App. We have a bit of time.
Okay, so I used Common App for the application process. So Common App, there are some things you need. You need to submit your GPA and your like academic progress reports, and you also need your SAT and ACT, like your test scores, and you need your essays too. So me, basically, I didn't have a problem with a lot of it, but the essays were a lot. So in the end, I had to write about 24 essays. So you really need to take time and sit down and like really write it. And each of them, you just need to be yourself. You just need to let them know who you are and let them know why you want to go to their school. And based on that, like if you write your essays really well, you really attract their attention. Yeah. And out of the 6 schools I applied to, I got into 3 of them.
Can you share with us why you didn't go into the schools you got into?
Oh, okay. So basically, I think it was financial aid. The schools, 2 of the schools gave me scholarship, but the scholarship wasn't enough, and the school fees was too much. So yeah, basically.
Thank you so much, Yoku, for sharing this. And I love that you make that comment. You made the comment of having being admitted into 3 universities and not being able to attend. Yes, it happens a lot more than you could imagine it would. So one thing we encourage during this process is to always have a plan B. That's something Yoku and Ebenezer, I think, left out. As you are planning and applying to colleges, I tell my students that have your plan A schools, have your plan B schools, and have your plan C schools. Yes, there are lots of amazing universities on the continent that give full scholarships. We have Ashesi, we have ALU, we have ALA. We have a lot of universities. There are a lot of schools in South Africa. They give full scholarships. So as you're applying to US universities or European universities, you need to consider other places. We have places such as Canadian universities, they also give lots of scholarships. Asian universities give lots of scholarships. So those should be your plan B schools. So yes, we all have the American dream, but as we are dreaming to go to America, let's have our plan B schools. And I call our plan C schools. I, Felicia, didn't go to any school outside. I went to KNUST. I have a lot of mentees who went to KNUST, and I love the experience. It's how you position yourself. It's a kind of experience you build for yourself whilst you are in school. So I went to KNUST, and yeah, things turned out great. So don't just put all your hopes or bank all your hopes on US colleges. Also make sure you throw in a bit of African universities, at least 1 or 2, a Canadian university, and luckily Ahaspora has connections with Ashesi. So if you are planning to go to Ashesi University, just let us know. We can put in a word for you. If you're an active mentee, we can easily put in a word for you. So there are lots of schools on there. Now we have Rauda in Rwanda. So you can speak to Rauda about ALU. We have a lot of students in ALU actually. And so put in your plan B schools, and don't forget to put in your plan C schools. Yes, sometimes even planning to go to Ghanaian universities comes with its own stress, because even paying for Ghanaian universities can be expensive sometimes. So KNUST, for instance, has MasterCard Foundation. So if you plan to apply to KNUST early, you can look at the financial options available there so that you can get access to scholarships. So thank you, Ebenezer and Yofi once again. Does anyone have any question so that we move straight to David? David is going to talk about financial aid, because that's very important. Everybody talks about money. Money is very, very important. And I'm happy we are going to hear about financial aid from David, because David has lots of experience to share. Any question? I'm not seeing any hands up. Okay. Oreku, do you want to ask a question? If you do, you can unmute yourself and talk. Hello? Okay. If there are no questions, Rauda has something to say, then we'll move on from there. Rauda, please, you can speak. Unmute yourself and speak.
So, thank you. I just wanted to add that it's very important for you to pay attention to every college you are applying to. Most colleges are upfront. They tell you they are need blind. Most of them tell you they give 100% scholarship. There are opportunities for Black people. They are from Africa. They are very into getting us, and they have nice packages for us to school. So when you're applying for college and you know your budget, you cannot afford even 80% scholarship, try your best, go low out and research colleges giving 100% scholarship. I would say that was one thing that I did. I made it clear to myself that I don't want to pay any tuition in college. So any college I'm going out to search for is giving 100% scholarship or nothing. So if you know you are that kind of person, please go all out and research for only those colleges and apply for them. Because it's very, I would say it's very sad not to read all those things from your college and apply because you are into Yale or maybe into Harvard, and only at the end get congratulations and realize you cannot afford. It's almost like doing all the work for nothing. So even if it's Lebron giving full scholarship and you know you want full scholarship, MasterCard, go for it. Even if it's a university in South Africa, university in the US somewhere, just make sure that you put your scholarship need over the university you applied for. Because if you put the university first and in the end you cannot still go, what is the use at the end? Be better. Yeah, so just make sure that when you are searching for colleges, you know your priority. Is it the school or you want the scholarship? And that way you set your goal straight and in the end you realize that there is something for you at the end. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Rhoda. David, we are ready to hear from you. David, we are ready to hear from you. Okay, whilst we wait for David to set up, I have a question here. What can you do today that you were not able to do a year ago? This question goes to all participants. So feel free to share with us what you can do today that you were not able to do a year ago. What is it that you can do today that you were not able to do a year ago? If I don't get any hands up, I'll be forced to call people to talk. What is it that you can do today that you were not able to do a year ago? Anon, tell us what you can do today that you were not able to do a year ago.
Hello.
Yeah, hi, Anon, we can hear you.
Yeah. Personally, I think it's the essays. I think I can write better essays now than previously.
Okay, so you can write better essays now, better than you could do a year ago. Who else? Who else wants to share? I can see E. Who is E? E. E, please unmute yourself and tell us what you can do today that you were not able to do a year ago. E is not with us. Ibrahim Samira. Ibrahim, what is it that you can do today that you were not able to do a year ago? You are listening. You're on mute, so we can hear you. Samira. Ooh, why is everybody quiet? Hi, Samira. Yeah, we can hear you.
So I would personally say what I can do today, I wasn't able to do a year ago, was go for opportunities. YYAS was so interesting, and then now when I see some posts about mentorship program, I'm really interested in it. So I could do that today. I wasn't able to do that a year ago.
Okay, what makes you interested in mention?
You meet people. For YYAS, I could say I have lots of friends. I could proudly say I have friends across Africa, in some countries in Africa. So it's really interesting. You get to talk to them, and then you get to ask questions about their countries, know other cultures and all that. It was really interesting.
Wow, that's good to hear. That's even you having a virtual session. Then you could imagine how the in-person session was. So you can ask your facilitators during the breakout session. They will tell you a lot about their in-person session. So thank you, Samira, for sharing. So David says he's ready. So David, please, we are here waiting to hear from you.
Hi. Yeah, so can I start sharing my screen? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, David.
Okay, okay. Um, okay, so I'll be talking on financial aid. So for most, okay, international, let's see here. Some people do not really need financial aid, maybe because they're better off, but financial aid is actually a very necessary aspect of your application. Even if you don't need it, you actually fill it out even for your I-20. So I'll be talking on financial aid and demonstrating the need for aid. So before I start, mostly when we need financial aid, um, we are tempted to lie in our application. Maybe some people can actually overestimate um, the amount of money they don't have and all that kind of stuff. But it's best to just be, real and like just give them what you have. If you actually deserve it, you get it. So there's no need to actually lie in your financial aid application. Um, so the basic information to have when you're applying for financial aid is your personal information and finances, family information and finances, your bank statements. So your personal information, your name, your age, date of birth, the school you attended, and sometimes they ask you about your finances. So maybe how much do you have? Are you working? Are you married? How many children do you have? And also your family information. So your parents, friends, just parents, like what work do they do? Sometimes they can ask about their employment status. Um, Maybe sometimes they can even ask questions on the school they attended and all that kind of things in determining your financial aid. And most importantly, you need the bank statements. They really need the bank statements. Even if not for anything, for your financial aid, you need the bank statements. For any application for financial aid, they need your bank statements to actually show that you have the money to be able to cater for even at least one whole year for school. So first look at the CSS profile. The CSS profile is one of the most accepted forms for applying for financial aid for schools. This profile is actually one you should not take very lightly because it's actually very long. It's one of the longest profiles you could ever fill. So maybe now you just getting started, student status, housing information, confirm demographics, and submit. Well, that's just step one of the whole application. There's actually a lot that goes into the CSS profile. So if you're actually going to plan and start, and like you made up your mind that you actually want to apply to schools abroad, you should, if not anything, or if you're waiting to just find your colleges or anything, whilst you're doing that, you could just start the CSS profile and at least fill out most of the basic details, because actually goes in depth. They can ask you about your parents, like the value of their jewelry, the value of their land. Do they have any property? Can you evaluate the value of their property and all those kind of questions? They are really in depth. So it's best you actually start this very early so that the stress doesn't pile up with deadlines and essay writing and all that kind of stuff. The next is the S for International Students Financial Aid Application. This is also for international students. And not like the CSS profile, this is actually free. So this YYAS is also just the first aspect of the SFA. I couldn't show everything. So the SFA is also another financial aid form you could actually fill. Depending on the school, some schools actually might say they don't want the SFA, they just want the CSS. Some can ask for CSS and FAFSA and all that kind of stuff. So the SFA is also another financial aid application you could fill. This is like mainly for international students. So if not SFA, we have the ESCOF, the International Student Certification of Finances, that you could also fill. It depends on the school. So as you can see, as I said, the basic information you need to know you have to have your information, your family information on your fingertips. So as you can see, this is asking for your name, your address. Your permanent address is actually very, very important, or your mailing address, because sometimes if they actually use this, they can actually use this in sending you your I-20 or any package. If you get admission to the school, they can actually use this address to actually send you any, maybe their brochure and some other souvenirs. So you should actually get all of this right: your date of birth, place of birth, citizenship, expected visa type. So for your visa, you should know the visa you're going in for, either an F1, F2, G1, or G2. So I don't think I should talk on that right now. And yeah, you should know when you're going to begin studies at the college. So maybe are you applying for fall or spring, and what kind of university you'll be. Yeah. This is just a basic I-20 form for Hofstra University, one of the schools I applied to. So after you gain admission and everything, they need your I-20 so that they can actually print out the I-20 form for you for your visa application. Without the I-20, you cannot get the visa to go to school. If you enter the US Embassy or the embassy for application for a visa, you'll be bounced on the spot because you don't have your I-20. So that means that maybe in their heads you haven't applied, you haven't gained admission, or you actually don't have the money to go, and you just be a burden. So as you can see, this is almost every application form for financial aid or anything that has to do with your finances actually needs your personal information. And the basic thing is your name, date of birth, email, mailing address, postal code, country, citizenship, all that kind of stuff. So you should actually have, if you don't have them in mind, like have a place where you're actually keeping this information. So anytime you need it, you can just go to it easily. So that's and your family information. Yeah, so the CSS and FAFSA. So FAFSA is not eligible for international students, but CSS, because the FAFSA, it's actually for giving students federal aid. So FAFSA cannot be filled by international students. But the thing is, in my application, when I was actually supposed to fill the ISFA and the FAFSA, after I filled the ISFA, I just contacted the school telling that, hey, the FAFSA is not eligible for international students, so what do I do? They said, so mostly just contact the school and then they'll actually might give you some information on what to do next. So for me, they just waived the FAFSA and then just took it on from there. So maybe that might not be the case for every school, but just in case the school is also asking for FAFSA as like a very required document for your financial aid application, just email the school and maybe someone, they always reach out to you. Maybe it could be a personal mentor or something, someone you're actually supposed to contact just in case of anything you need, and they can actually help you out. Yeah, so CSS also has twice as much questions as FAFSA because, as I said, it's very in-depth. So family finances, what's the value of the land, what's the value of, one of the questions I remember was something relating to jewelry and like all sorts of questions. They are very, very stressful. They can be stressful if you don't plan and you start very late, and they're also very in-depth. So yeah, as I said before, if you're also applying to schools abroad, just try and fill out the CSS application, maybe most of the basic information you need, not so that you don't wait until after you're done applying and then maybe you have maybe 2 or a week left, and then you now have to rush for your bank statements and fill the CSS profile and other stuff. Yeah, so the CSS requires more in-depth information than the FAFSA, and the CSS profile incurs cost. Yeah, you actually pay for the CSS profile, but if you know you can pay, you can just contact the college you're actually applying to, and they will give you a waiver. So when you get the waiver, just input it in after the last part, so the submission part of the CSS profile, and then they'll give you a code that you're supposed to use. When you use that code, your CSS profile fee will be waived, and then you can submit the CSS profile for free to that college. So the IDOC, some schools require the IDOC. I don't really see it for most schools. So the IDOC is Institutional Documentation Service. So it's more like a service that is used to send the additional documents to some schools. So, for example, Yale. Yeah. So after you're done with your CSS profile, some schools can actually require the IDOC. So actually best to try and like plan everything. So even if you just want to focus on the college application and everything for now, try and make some time also for filling out a financial aid profile. So after you are done with everything and you are submitting it along with your application, just in case some of these things come up, you can actually fill them out early and on time. Or else if you miss the deadline, it might not actually you getting rejected because you weren't eligible, but maybe because you missed one of the documents they required and then they couldn't accept you. Thank you, and food for thought. Scholarship package quantity is not always the main thing to look out for after receiving a scholarship. What I mean here is maybe you have two schools, one give you $30,000 scholarship and one give you maybe, let's say, just say $25,000. Maybe on impulse you rush for the school giving you $30,000 scholarship because they actually give you more scholarship than the previous one. But when you're looking out for this kind of scholarship packages, also look at the tuition and like the whole fees for the semester or for the year. So maybe if the school giving $30,000 scholarship is actually requiring you to pay a year $70,000, you actually have $40,000 to raise up. But and also it can be the case that the school that's actually giving you $25,000 scholarship, you actually just have to, the fee for the whole year is actually $40,000, and then you have $15,000 left to pay. So when you actually just get the scholarship package and everything, try and look into it and delve more into the finances or the expenses that you have to pay when you're actually selecting the school based on the scholarship package they actually give you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David. One thing you didn't share with us is a little bit about you. You are at Ashesi, and you mentioned that you applied to Hofstra. So tell us, why did you not go to Hofstra and you went to Ashesi?
Yeah, so that can be related to the food for thought. So when I applied to some schools, Hofstra, Suffolk University, Wentworth, I got admission to these three schools, some with the Dean Scholarship and a provost from Hofstra with admission into the Honor Society, which is another, is a very prestigious group of people. So I think actually for Hofstra again, I got the provost scholarship of I think $29,000 per year, but then the fees for the whole year is actually $64,000. So that left me with about $39,000 or $44,000. I don't really remember the actual fee, but I think I was left with $44,000 left to pay every year. And then yeah, I also applied to Ashesi at that point, and they actually gave me a tuition waiver. So we actually just weigh the two, you see that the tuition waiver is actually the best choice because for Ashesi tuition, okay, even Ashesi actually has a lower cost for everything in general when you compare to Hofstra. So the tuition waiver alone was actually good enough for me to actually choose Ashesi over Hofstra University. If you are just taking financial aid and everything, just for financial aid, I would have gone for Ashesi in that case, but there were also some other factors that was mentioned in the previous session, like student population and other stuff. Yeah.
Thank you so much, David, for sharing. Any questions for David? Any questions? If you have any questions, just put your hands up and I'll call you to ask your question. David's session was very practical. He actually took you through all the forms. He took you through each and every form. And one thing I need to mention is Ahaspora does give CSS form waivers from time to time. It's not always available, but we do have CSS form waiver codes. So whenever you are ready to apply for your CSS form, just reach out to us. And if we have codes, free voucher codes available, we'll make them available to you. So just feel free to ask anytime and you get access to them. Any question for David? Why is everyone quiet? My 2020 alumni. Okay, nada. Nada, please unmute and ask David your question.
When is the best time to start applying?
When is the best time to start applying? My facilitators, who is taking this question?
Okay, I'll take it. So I think the best time to start applying is
For the
maybe
financial week.
your final year in high school. So I started applying when I was about to go to my final year. So by the time I was halfway with my final year, I'd finished my application and I had submitted it. Yeah.
Nada, was your question answered?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Nada. Any more questions? So
Can I add up on that?
Yeah, Rhoda.
Nada's question.
Okay, Rhoda.
Also, it's also very important to keep track of the college you want to apply to. Some of them open applications times before you finish high school or after you finish high school. So if you want to go to school immediately after high school, you kind of have to apply early and tell them that your YC would come out this time and just upload. And that's the case. So follow up on all the universities you want to apply and look out for their admission. That you don't have to take that year if you want to go to college immediately. Right.
Thank you.
Sorry guys, I was on mute. David, we are waiting to hear from you. Hello, David. David, did you want to say something? Okay, dokie. Crispin, yeah, okay. Yeah, David. Mm-hmm.
Hello?
Yeah, David.
Hello. Okay, so I wanted to say, what Rauda and Yoku said is actually very true. But then with your common application, the basic parts, as in filling out your details and family details and all that kind of stuff, you can actually fill it even before the schools actually send out the applications, because for the common app, everything is there. You can fill it out. You can even leave it for a year and it will still be there. The only thing that will change from time to time is the part that the university actually sends out. Maybe they could change the essays that they want you to write and maybe the things they actually want you to give. So you can actually just fill out your common application now, and then when you're actually ready to apply, maybe in final year in high school, you just fill out the part that the university requires, because that part will change. But the main and basic information won't change. So you can even leave it for a year, and then maybe after you come back and ready to apply, you don't have to fill that part all over again. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, David. Crispin, you had a question that we can move on to Elikpin.
Okay, so thank you very much. I want to know if it is advisable to first apply to a Ghanaian university, say University of Ghana, go there in school, then you apply to, say, a college in the United States of America or any other college. Okay. Did you get my
Very
question?
good question. Yes, we did. Very good question. So I'll throw this question to Ebenezer. Zinyano is also here. We also have Yoku. These three students. I think Ebenezer would be best to answer this question. Ebenezer is actually in KNUST and he was still trying to apply. So he'll be best to share his experience with you. Ebenezer, can you help us answer this question if you are still with us? Ebenezer. Yoku, I guess I'll have you take this question. Or Zinganu. Zinganu, do you want to take this? Or Yoku, are you taking the question?
Okay, can I get a question again?
So he's asking that, is it good for you to apply to a Ghanaian university and later on apply to colleges in US? How is the experience like? I think that's the question.
Okay. I think it all depends on you. Like, if you have the chance to go the first year, you should take the chance. But if something happens and it's not possible, it's also, you can also apply whilst you are still in school. But that means it would to affect, it might affect your like academics in like your university that you are in, like your Ghanaian university. So I think it's advisable to do it before then, before university, like in high school. Yeah.
Okay, I'll add on to
Okay,
this.
excuse me, I want to come in. Hello.
Yeah,
Hello.
Crispin, feel free.
Uh-huh. Okay, you see, I'm talking about this when you are in the, it will be when you're in the undergrad, when you're in the university, say University of Ghana, then
Yeah.
it's not like you have the intentions of being there, but it is going to serve as a backup plan for you, so that you use that, so that when you are there, you'll be applying for the whole college and everything. So after, it won't be like you're going to University of Ghana or TK University. You are using that place to the.
Okay, thank you, Crispin. I'll
I
take
didn't
this
get the
one.
last sentence.
Yeah, so I will take it, then I'll allow you to take on. So he meant that, so your goal is not to be in University of Ghana, but your goal is just to go in for going in sake, just to while away time or just as your backup plan. Then you'll be there and applying to US colleges. That is a very risky thing to do, I would say, from my experience in mentoring for 4 years. It's a very risky thing to do. One, what if you get into a school and, as David said, you don't get good financial support for you to really attend the school? Then if you don't pay attention to your Ghanaian university, your grades would have gone down and coming back to pick up will be very, very difficult, and it's going to affect your GPA. So one thing I would encourage is for you to take a gap year. If you feel applying to school whilst you're in third year is very tedious, you're writing your WASI, you can't do it, I'll advise that take a gap year after senior high school and do your application. As for Ghanaian universities, you can always apply to it. Admissions are always open. Your chances of getting into a Ghanaian university is like very high as compared to getting into a foreign university. So don't rush. There's no rush when it comes to chasing your dream. If you really want something, yesterday I posted on my status, it's one step at a time. So be careful with how you go about it. Take a gap year. During our time after senior high school, you didn't have to rush into uni. I remember I took a whole year. We had to stay at home for 1 year. During that 1 year, I did a lot of internship programs. I did a lot of things. I learned to drive. I did a lot of extracurricular activities, which improved me. Like, it did a lot to me. It developed me in many aspects that I'm really, really using right now. If not for the fact that I learned to drive during that period, I wouldn't have ever learned to drive. I know, because since then my life just took off, and like I was always busy, always had something to do. So if you really want to go to school, if you really, really mean to travel outside after senior high school, don't rush into any Ghanaian university. Take a year. If you also feel like you can really take off the load, then you go into the Ghanaian university knowing that you are going to work very hard to keep your grades high, and also work extremely hard on your application so that you get in as you wish. So that will be my plan, but never say, oh, I'm going to a Ghanaian university. That's not where I want to be. And you like be there and be applying to US universities. That's a risky thing to do. I won't advise any of my mentees to do that. Ellie Klim, you had a question. We need to rush into our breakout room very soon. So let's make it quick.
So my question is about the financial aid. I wanted to ask whether like people who exaggerate their need for the financial aid be given more consideration than those who seem more well off, even though they probably have the same need for the aid.
Come again, I didn't get your question. I missed it, please.
I said, like, won't people who exaggerate their need for the financial aid be given more consideration than those who like are honest about it and have the same like demand for the need.
Good. Why would you exaggerate your financial need? That's the first one. Why would you exaggerate it? And let me tell you, the CSS forms, the forms you fill, they are very, very, very detailed. Like you can't hide any details. These admission officers are in contact with a lot of organizations like ours, Ahaspora. So trust me, we have a lot of connections with universities outside, and you'll be surprised. You put some quotes down and they are like, what is this person talking about? Do you get it? These admission officers have worked on admission for years. They are very well seasoned. They've done this all their life. This is what they eat, breathe, eat. They come to Africa for recruitment. So they know when they come, they don't just come to recruit. They come to study our environment. They come to understand our situation. So trust me, you cannot exaggerate anything. You cannot hide any information. Yes, you will find ways around it, but it's not going to help you in any way. So that is a no-no for you. So don't think that someone is exaggerating and is going to get more fans than someone who is being honest. By the end of the form or by the end of the application, you will give yourself out. Are you getting me? So for instance, you tell that, you say, oh, my father earns 500 Ghana cedis a month, for example. And they ask, how much do you guys spend on food? Then you write 200 cedis. And possibly you said, oh, my mom does not work. Then they ask you, how much do you spend on this? At the end of the calculation, your family is spending more than like over 1,000 cedis, whilst you claim your main source of income is 500 Ghana cedis. Immediately your application becomes questionable. Are you getting me? So for you to be able to exaggerate or hide any information, then you should be an extremely good liar, possibly hash puppy. You should be hash puppy to be able to do that. If not, please don't do it. You'll be caught. So there's no way you can say, oh, I'm hiding information. It's surely going to come out by the end of your application. If not for anything, you write your essay, you mention something, oh, we went for a family vacation. Then they'll start questioning, how come this guy's father is earning 200 cedis? So how can they afford a family vacation? Are you getting me? So when they're assessing your application, it's a holistic assessment. They don't take one aspect and leave the other. They put everything side by side and go through it one after the other. You are writing a story and the story has to be meaningful. It has to make sense in every aspect.
Can I add a little?
Okay, Rauda.
Okay. Felicia said it all right. Like, I really agree with everything she said. For you to lie, like just one lie can even disqualify you. So please be honest with all your application. But another thing to add is that sometimes you don't have to be necessarily very needy to get a scholarship. There is merit and there is need. Some scholarships will just need you, maybe you are very smart, you get it, and your GPA qualifies for that. You can get scholarship for that. So at that point, you don't have to tell them your mother is sick, you are the only son, all your parents are farmers. You don't have to say all those things. There's some scholarships you are passionate about the environment, and then that is why you are getting the scholarship. Scholarship, you are very good at basketball, those kind of things. So if you know you can't have enough to pay for to be needy, look out for merit scholarships, so you would also qualify for that, so that there'll be more chances of you getting the scholarship, even regardless of your needs. You get it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rauda, for adding up. I guess all our questions has been answered. So we are going to dash quickly into our breakout rooms. This aspect we are in, you are going to speak to our alumni. They are going to tell you about their experiences. I've already put everyone in their breakout room. The first session, you'll be in a breakout room for now. We'll be back. It's going to be for 15 minutes. We'll be back for 5 minutes to talk about your experience in the breakout room. Then we would switch you. So we have 2 breakout rooms. We have one breakout room for our local university, and we have another breakout room for our foreign university. So if you go to our local university, you meet your speakers, Zinyanu, you will meet David, you will meet Maxine, you will meet Yoku, you meet Ebenezer. They are going to turn on their videos, and when they do, they will tell you about their experience in their various universities. Feel free to ask questions, engage with them. I will advise once again, turn on your cameras so that you can have a good interaction. In our second room will be foreign universities. We have Rauda, we have Andrew, Deborah, and we have Nanama Asamoah Ejei. They are going to share their experience. Andrew is in Yale. He went to Yale this year. He's doing his online session. Nanama is in New York University. Nanama, correct me if I'm wrong. Rauda is in ALU, Rwanda. They are going to share their experience with you. After we are done, all our speakers, I'll advise you put your emails and contact numbers in the chat session if you don't mind, so that participants can contact you later on. So without much being said, I'm going to switch all of us into our breakout room. I'll be moving from one breakout room to the other just to see the kind of conversation that is going on there. So feel free, relax, and enjoy. See you all in the next 15 minutes. Bye.
I'm a second year student of New Jobbing Senior High School.
New Jobbing. Beautiful. I have some very good friends in New Jobbing. Okay, then I believe, wait, I have had Andrew already speak, right? Eli Klim, you there?
Yeah.
Say something, Eli Klim.
I'm Eli Klim George Ajahu. I'm a second year student of St. Augustine's College, Cape Coast. And I'm also happy to be in this breakout session with all of you. I hope I'll be able to learn a lot from all this. And
He hopes, right? He hopes. He's not making a commitment. I hope I learn something. Definitely. And I'm happy that you guys are all, I hear second year means you're all early birds. Well done. It's very good to start early, right? Because I started when I was in the second year. Andrew, you started in second year, right?
Yeah.
Very good. So most of the speakers here, I think Rauda also started in the second year, working towards applications. Rauda?
Sorry, I'm in college and I'm here with you guys to facilitate the session.
Okay, but you started your applications in second year, like in your Form 2 of high school. Did you?
The question again?
Did you start your applications in Form 2 of high school?
In my final year.
In your final year, okay, so no worries, right? So we have a combination of early birds and improved stuff in your final year. So personally, I don't know what to say. That's why I'm thinking about the talk. Let me get straight to it. So for university experiences, right? They mentioned. Hello, Felicia. You're welcome to our breakout room. Okay. Hello. Oh, can you all hear me? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, my university experience, right? I'm in New York University. It's a very, very diverse community. New York in itself is a very, very diverse city. Like, oh my God, you can walk by and you can one street, you could hear as many as 100 languages, because like there are so many people from all over the world, right? Don't be surprised if you hear somebody speaking Tree behind you, hear somebody speaking Ghana somewhere, there's somebody speaking French at the other side, somebody here is speaking Portuguese or some crazy language like that, right? And there are lots of Asians as well, so a lot of diversity. And New York University prides itself in being one of the most diverse universities in the world, and they pride themselves in also being at the university without walls. So what happens is in New York City, we do not, in NYU, we do not have a campus the way Columbia has this huge campus with a gate and a wall. We don't have that. I don't know about Yale. I haven't been to Yale before. If Andrew invites me, I'll definitely come, right? But I've never been to Yale before, so I don't know the experience there. But for New York University, we do not have walls. So we are in the heart of New York City. So immediately you leave your lecture hall, you are in New York. So you just hide your ID card and then you're in New York, right? Walking around the subways, everything. Very, very intriguing. So what I loved best about my school was all of a sudden I was in the movies I was seeing. So I go to a train station. I'm like, oh my God, I've seen this train station in some movie before. Like there was blood on this floor. Like I was like, I felt like I was in a movie scene. So I loved New York University, NYU for that, right? But what happened was because the community is so diverse and we were so spaced out, it gave us so much freedom, but the freedom was crippling. I don't know what you mean. It's like you are so free. I came from Ibri girls, from padlock and whatever it is. It was a cage and a padlock, right? All of a sudden, I'm free, and the freedom is not like I'm backed by a wall. Like, I'm just free. I'm just seeing everything. Oh my God! When I entered the subway for the first time, the train moved so fast. I nearly fell. I was like, oh my God, what is this? Like I was like, Mommy, what have you done to me, right? She gave me so much freedom from a very cage, like, Mommy, Daddy, where are you going? No, don't go out. No, you can't go. No, change this outfit. Now I was like, okay, I'm supposed to do all these things on myself, choose if I want to eat. It was crazy. It was very overwhelming, right? And for me, it was a little difficult to fit in because now, not only are we new to each other, we are all new to each other's culture. So if I was coming to just fit in the American culture, that's perfectly fine. So I have just one set of things to learn. But New York is like, it's no man's home. It's like, okay, everybody has his own culture. So I had so many things to learn, so much adjustment to make. I didn't really make friends until my second semester. It was really crazy. And you'll be like, this girl talked very nicely. How come she didn't make any friends? It's you don't know what I was going through. Like it was crazy, right? So I finally made friends with some Indians, a group of Indians, right? And they were grad students. Please, when you make friends with undergraduates as well. Don't just make friends with grad students. Because what happened was in the next semester, they all graduated. Grad school is just 2 years. So like I came this semester and they're all gone, right? That was pretty interesting. But luckily for me, I have some family in New York. So I have an aunt in the Bronx and I have an auntie in Queens. I don't know whether you know all these places, but New York has 5 major places. We have Brooklyn, the Bronx, Manhattan, we have Staten Island, and we have Queens, right? So I have some family somewhere. So thankfully, I have that support system. So definitely look into a place where you could have people there who've got your back, right? Because you need that support system, leaving your parents so suddenly. And then for online classes, I don't like online classes. Not because of their inability to teach me, but
still a good opportunity for you to grow. So it's so good. You can take advantage of those opportunities. Yeah. Anyone to add up?
Yeah, I could share my experience if there's still time.
Great.
Okay. I'm David. Yeah. I spoke on the financial aid section. So, my experience was very cool. I'm in the Ashesi. I'm my second year. Yeah, we started our semester. It's fully online. Okay. So, my application to Ashesi, people might call it. Some might call it crazy, and some might call it very risky, because the main plan was to go to schools abroad. So I applied to schools abroad, but then Ashesi became like sort of my backup. Like that was my kind of in quote safety school that just in case nothing went wrong. So yeah, and then I was able to get admission to Ashesi. As she said, as Felicia said, Ahaspora is actually a very good thing to add to your application, maybe even for extracurriculars or even organizations on your application for when you're applying to a share CE, because they can actually fill in for you if you're actually very active. Yeah, and also since I was an intern also last year, I was even able to meet the admission officer at one of our the YYAS educators conference. That's for the educators. So and then yeah, so Aspera can actually give you that little push or boost in your application to Ashesi and all that. Yeah, so the experience actually was actually very cool because I actually like Ashesi because of this small population size, because that's one of the main things I look out for when I'm applying to colleges. And yeah, so we are the largest batch so far, and that's 331 students. I don't know for the incoming freshmen now. I think Maxine will maybe shed some light on that if maybe they are more or lesser than us. But yeah, 331 students, and so the students, you can imagine that the class is actually very small. So maybe there's some classes that can actually have just 20 or 29, but the highest I've seen so far in the class is around 51 or 69 students. Yeah, and they actually have time for everyone. Their office hours, you could go and meet the lecturers one-on-one chats to gain more insights, or you can even use to increase the participation grade. Yeah, it's actually very fun. Yeah, there are lots of opportunities for you, and then but the main thing to actually look out for when you actually want to get a very can be your friend on campus, not just people you go to, or like they can actually help you just in case you need something. So maybe just a small circle of friends, maybe about 8 friends, and then you guys can actually you always be there for each other and that kind of stuff. Maybe you guys can even be in the same major, so you guys can sit together in class and like it can actually help to enhance the experience because they actually did for me. Yeah, so I don't know about the other schools, but like Ashesi, as I've heard in some other schools like Tech and Legon, you can actually be in a class of around 200 students or even more, and you can spend like 3 hours in the class. But Ashesi is actually very small because it's just 1 or 30 minutes per class, but you can have up to 3 or 4 or 5 classes a day. So that's 1 or 30 minutes for each, with slight breaks in between them for you to relax and maybe refresh your mind or something. But it's actually a very good experience if you are able to plan well. You actually enjoy the school experience, but because in the end, it can actually be very intensive in terms of the assignments and the quizzes and the readings and the stuff you have to do. But overall, it's actually very good. Yeah.
Good. Nada has raised her hand, so I think she has a question. You can go ahead.
I actually have 2 questions. One for David about Ashesi. What are some extracurricular activities that you can do over there, since the campus is like really small? So like, I'm just wondering. And whoever attended KNUST or is still at KNUST, are internships compulsory or you have to apply yourself? Like, does the university help you get any internship? That's all. Thank you.
Should I go first?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so the speakers, my colleagues, very, very well done. Andrew, thank you very much. Nanama, thank you very much. So if any of you have questions, we want it to be interactive, right? So feel free to, not type in the chat, unmute and talk to us. So do you have any specific questions? Do you want us to touch on something that we haven't touched on? Or is it something that's battling your mind, like, hey, can I do it? Hey, maybe I'm not as smart as Andrew, can I do it? If you have such questions, so feel free to ask. I'll go around for feedback. Okay. So I'm giving you a minute to think about that. So thinking about your questions, what I want to say is that even though you're considering career, try and keep your options open also for entrepreneurship. So I'm currently an entrepreneur, and I'm doing that alongside my studies, right? So if you ever come to the US or Canada, reach out to me, right? There's opportunities that come with mentorship and coaching, one which I'm currently taking part of. So making some good money alongside my studies, definitely consider that as well. Okay, so I'm going around for my feedback. I hate to have dialogue where I'm talking to the screen. I want feedback. Okay, so let me go around. I haven't heard from, I think I saw somebody, Anna, or she left already. Oh, that's definitely very sad. Okay, Oreko. Okay, come right.
What's Deborah?
Deborah.
I'd like to ask Andrew a question.
Okay.
Andrew.
Hi.
The fact that you're doing an online class doesn't mean that you won't ever go to Yale in person.
Oh no. So actually they have some in-person classes. It's just because, you know, the corona and those things, it was very difficult to travel this year. So January, I'll be going in January.
Oh, so you're back home. Oh, I really assumed, I assumed that you were in your dorm and you're taking classes online. Oh my God, that's very intriguing. So you are in Yale in Ghana, right? Beautiful. Okay, I'm going to the next person. I feel I want to hear from Eliplin George Ajaho. Did I pronounce it right?
Yeah.
Okay, Eliplin, carry on.
Okay, so like with the fact that you'll be alone when like you're out there, you said there are some things that like we shouldn't be doing, like things that our parents. Okay, so like with the dressing and all, sometimes you know that the weather changes over there, and like when you are learning social studies in Ghana, they tell us that the conditions in Ghana are different from out there. So it doesn't mean when you go up there, like you can adapt some of those things.
Okay, so I feel like Andrew answered already. So let me go take this one. Is that fine? So I'm currently in the US presently, and definitely, right, adaptation counts. So what I'm saying by not dressing the way they dress, I'm asking you not to dress indecently, right? Some people take it to an extra level. So some summers are very, very warm, very, very comfortable. So you feel free to be comfortable, right? But like personally, from my moral upbringings, my Stefanko that I was raised with, I won't wear certain clothing, right? And so I will cover myself, but I'll definitely be free for fresh air. And then when it gets very cold, I know I have to cover up a little bit more because they are adapted to the weather. So it took me a few weeks, a few months to actually adapt to the cold. So I could just wear a trousers, a top, and then a jacket on it. But at the beginning, I had to like layer up. And yeah, they were laughing. They're like, this small weather you're wearing so many. I'm like, please, my chest. I'm not yet used to this weather. So definitely your body will acclimatize, you definitely adapt. But at the beginning, you take the necessary precautions to take care of yourself.
Sorry,
cold.
Sorry, can I add on? Okay, so if I'm getting you right, are you asking that how do we stay true to ourselves? How do we make sure that we are not getting carried away by our fears? Is that your question?
Something like that.
Okay, so what you should do is the breakout session ends. Like, God.
Sorry, the breakout session.
Rhoda was like flowing, right? She was giving some tips.
I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. We are running behind time, and I'm going to ask permission from everyone. I know we promised to end the session at 12 o'clock, but we're going to go beyond it a little bit to like 12:15. I really apologize. I see we are all enjoying the breakout rooms. I kept moving from room to room, and all the sessions were just exciting. It was all on fire. So thank you so much, facilitators, for leading this session. I'm very, very sorry once again for ending it. But we are going to go back again, but we're going to move it around. So those in the foreign universities, your facilitators will still be in those rooms, but you are going to move. Participants will move into the local university session, and those who are in the local university room will have to move into the foreign university. So you hear from facilitators from that end. But